Hey everyone, welcome to a tutorial for Kingdoms of Deceit. My name is Sedenek and the person behind this game. Now, that is a lie, I'm not Sedenek, but he is the person behind this game. Anyway, Kingdoms of Deceit is a bluffing RPG game for 3 to 7 players. From my experience of playtesting, it best plays in 5 or 6 people. A game of card usually takes between 90 to 120 minutes. Kingdoms of Deceit is set in a fantasy world. Each player controls a kingdom and takes a series of various actions with the aim to dominate the other player's kingdoms. How can you overpower the other kingdoms? How do you defeat your opponents? Well, there are different ways through economic power and hoarding by completing quests, by stabbing and swinging your sword and various other weapons, by being defensive, waiting for the right moment, by casting powerful magic, by being diplomatic and making alliances with other players, and most importantly, by lying and being deceitful. If you are not one of those people who enjoy bluffing and lying, you can still win the game by playing truthfully. The game revolves around 10 character cards. You can see them over here in the place referred to as the graveyard. The characters are the alchemist, archer, blacksmith, king, merchant, necromancer, princess, rogue, sorcerer, and warrior. Each character has a set of unique abilities and offers a different playstyle. There are 40 character cards in total. That's because you have 4 of each character type in the deck. 3 out of 4 of the characters are male, and 1 is a female, except for the kings, who are all male, and the princesses, who are all female. Just a quick tip, the female characters are slightly more valuable because they cannot be seduced and they can be revenged if they die. Now, let's take a look at the setup. When you load the game, make sure you randomize all 7 decks. That is, the character deck, the alchemy and ability decks, the antique deck, the spell deck, the quest and reward decks, and the monster deck. At the start of the game, draw 2 quests and 4 character cards. Every other player will do the same. First, look at the characters you have and discard one of your quests. I know it is rather morbid, but you also have to kill off one of your characters. That's because it is never allowed to have 4 characters in your hand. If this should happen, your kingdom overpopulates. Killing off a character seems to be cruel but necessary because it prevents famine, plague, and whatnot. When each player has placed one dead character of their choice in front of them, face down, the dead characters are shuffled and then revealed and put face up in the graveyard onto their respective character cards. At this point, everyone should have exactly 3 characters in their hand. Now, you have to go over to the character deck and discard down to 12 cards. Put the excess character cards face down into the discard pile. In a game of 7 players, this step is skipped. Well, now all you have to do is randomly determine the starting player and you are good to go. In Kingdoms of Deceit, players take turns in the clockwise order. On their turn, each player takes a certain number of actions. There are 3 basic ways the actions are divided. Number 1, according to how and when they can be taken. This has to do with these 4 action symbols. This shows whether the action is the main action, which will always end your turn, a pre-action, once per turn pre-action, or a trigger action. I can't stress enough that it's extremely useful to memorize how these symbols work. Once the main action is taken, the current player's turn ends and the turn marker is passed to the player on the left. Then this player takes their main action, and so on until the end of the game. Experienced players of Kingdoms of Deceit may choose to use a clock as a turn marker. Each player then has 60 seconds to take their main action. If the player fails to do so, their turn automatically ends with taking the default income action. This is the most basic action which will allow you to take 2 gold from the bank. A typical pre-action is to buy something. You can buy items, you can buy new quests, you can buy spells, and you can exchange or even recruit a character. Second division of actions is into character and non-character actions. Non-character actions are spread around the board and you can read about them on the blue tiles. Anybody can take a non-character action. On the other hand, character actions are represented by the character abilities. When a player takes a character action, they are basically claiming to have a respective character. Now you can either have that character or you can try to bluff it. As long as no one calls you out on your bluff, you are fine. But watch out, any player may challenge you on your character action within 5 seconds of taking that action. Here on Tabletop Simulator, a challenge is done by drawing the challenge card into the player's hand. So for example, let's say I have the Alchemist and I decide to brew potions as my main action. It is a legal move for me because I happen to have the Alchemist in my hand. But let's imagine I don't have this character and still want to brew potions. In this case, I have to lie about my cards and claim the Alchemist and hope no one challenges me. If I am challenged, I lose a character of my choice and my action fails. If this is a main action, it also ends my turn. Obviously, the best case scenario is that I do in fact have the Alchemist, and then if someone calls me out, the challenging player loses a character card of their choice. The winner of any challenge in Kingdoms of Deceit also wins experience points or simply XP. Speaking of XP points, this is the actual aim of the game. To win the game, you have to collect 15 XP. Alternatively, the game ends when there are no more cards in the character deck and the turn token is passed to a player who currently has no character cards. In this case, the player with the most experience wins. Gradually, as you pick up more and more XP for your adventures, you reach higher levels, and naturally, the characters become stronger. If we take the example of the Alchemist, on level 1 you can brew only 2 potions, on level 2, 3, and on level 3, even 4. That is absolutely worth it. Every time you see 3 blue numbers divided by forward slashes, this indicates the strength of the ability or spell at level 1, 2, and 3. How do I get XP, I hear you asking? I actually don't hear you. Well, there are plenty of ways you can do that. As I already mentioned, it is for winning challenges, but also for killing other players' characters with weapons, casting offensive magic, using offensive potions, seducing male characters with princess, or killing monsters in the arena. All these are examples of offensive actions. The action symbol of offensive actions is always red. Remember, you get more XP for successfully targeting players with more character cards and also the players of higher level than you. You can also get XP through completing quests. Once you complete a quest, you have to show it to everyone, add your XP, and claim one of these very attractive rewards. If you are rich, you can even buy some XP, but this gets more expensive with higher levels. So, how do you win the game? What is the best strategy? Well, definitely you have to take care of your finances. Although it is possible to play without having much gold, the more of it you have, the better, trust me. But nothing is as simple as it looks. Being too greedy and powerful too early might make you a juicy target for the other kingdoms, while being too weak could potentially make you an easy prey. Lying too much will make you lose everybody's trust, while not lying at all will make you too predictable. So the best strategy is to find some sort of balance. There is a lot of strategy to the game, but there are also elements of luck. You really want the odds to be in your favor. Before I wrap this tutorial up, let me tell you where you can read about some more rules. Go to Quick Rules down here and read these 3 boards. Don't miss the last section where you can read up on rules such as the same action rule, 5-second rule, 1 defensive action rule, the block rule, the priority challenge rule, and the fair play rule. By the way, you may find the complete rules here in the notebook, including the QA section and a changelog. The game gets frequently updated based on the playtesters' comments. Alright, the purpose of this video was to introduce the basics of Kingdoms of Deceit. I do hope that you will enjoy Kingdoms of Deceit. If this tutorial has been too overwhelming for you, don't worry. Getting into the game is not that hard. You shall get the hang of it after a few rounds. Kinda like I did. Anyways, and of course, you best learn by playing. Kingdoms of Deceit has been played here on Tabletop Simulator almost 300 times. The endgame should be a release as a physical board game. First, it needs to get some popularity here on Tabletop Simulator, and then some cards artists and designers have to take care of the artwork. Most pictures from the game are taken from the internet. When the game is ready, a Kickstarter will be launched. If you decide to play this game, the game designer, Zdenek, will highly appreciate your feedback after the game. Ideally, rate the game, subscribe, and leave a comment on the workshop. So that's it, thank you for watching, and see you in a game of Kingdoms of Deceit on Tabletop Simulator.